What's it like watching some of the earlier stuff?
Oh man, I cringe a little bit.
Why?
Just cause it's crazy watching that clip from The Wire because I can remember vividly that scene. I remember shooting that scene. I remember making choices in that scene. So to look back at it now, it's kind of weird, man. It is, and I was just like, how raw it was, I guess, at that age. How raw and how just imitating, just trying to be in the moment, I guess, at the the earliest stages of me trying to figure it out is pretty cool.
Yeah, I guess it's like meeting your younger self.
It is a little weird, man, and man, thank God for braces, it's wild. But it's really wild, man. Kind of look at it and go back.
Well, so a major moment in your life, in your career, was the decision to go out to Los Angeles, right? So you're something like 19, 20 when you first headed out?
19.
19. Yeah. What were your aims in making the move, and then what was it like when you got out there? How were you initially received?
I think for me, just wanting to see what it was like. I went out there for, family reunions, basketball camps, summer vacation, the whole thing. Always kind of plotting my move. When am I going to get the courage to go? When is the right time to go? And when I finished up my run on All My Children, it was. I wasn't going to college, so I was like, okay, cool. This is going to be my college education. I'm gonna go out there and spend some time to really invest in the dream and see what's going to happen. And when I got out there, it was a lot of episodics. It was just trying to figure it out. I don't think I had a real goal. I think it was just trying to see if I had what it takes to become. I don't know. I don't think movie star wasn't in my mind, or I think just being able to support myself. Mm-hmm. I think one of the things with acting, people get confused is they think you become more famous and known than you are financially stable. So it's, as you're trying to go from job to job, you're just trying to hold on. You're just trying to stay out there long enough to get to that next audition or get to that one job that may give you just enough money to hold on or to actually save and stack money. So it's a lot of going for broke. Yeah. You book one episode or a guest star on this show, and that gives you enough to, for the next month. And you're like, okay, cool, I got another month of auditioning. I wonder what's gonna happen if I'm gonna book another job that's gonna get me to the next month, and so on and so forth. So for me, for the first maybe 4 or 5 years after moving to California, that was my reality.
And you've talked about doing the rounds of, I don't know when in those first 4 or 5 years this happened, but I think going with your mom and going to the agencies, right?
Oh yeah.
A lot of people are being probably haunted by what you're about to say. So let me.
No, when we first got out there, it was. Mom taking me around to the agencies, trying to get signed. I was at Abrams Artists when I was at CESD, actually. And then I moved out to LA and I transferred over to Abrams Artists, but I was still in the children's department. Mm-hmm. And in my head, I'm like, no, I want to start going out for these young adult roles. I see all these cool roles, and I'm still, barely can grow any facial hair. I can still pull off 14 easily. But just got frustrated with that whole process. But, every agency that I went into, for the most part, passed on me. Maybe you should do something else. Maybe you should go back to Jersey. And that was kind of the feedback that I got from a lot of agents. Shout out to my agents that are in the back right now, actually. No, but that was my initial move to LA, and I never took it fully personally. I think I did because just the rejection of it all, or not knowing what to do next, feeling a little frustrated. But as I got older, I understood the business, man. I really got it, and I didn't really hold it as a true grudge. It was more of motivation to prove everybody wrong. Right. And I think that kind of gave me my drive to one day you're going to come back and you're really going to want to sign me. Right. I think that's what it was at a young age.
I think that played out. So, so the first grown-up, roles that came along, would those have been some of those TV series that we, or what would you consider, coming out of what we're just talking about, coming out of those 19, 20, 21?
I don't think I really. I think I can't say just recently, but I want to say, maybe around like That Awkward Moment.
Yeah, so that's 2014, but you would have made it even before.
That Awkward Moment was 2013 was Fruitvale. That was right after Fruitvale. So yeah, that was like maybe 2014. Yeah, 2013, 2014. Yeah.
But maybe is it possible you'd made that before Fruitvale?
No, I made that right after.
Right after.
No, wait, no, I made that after.
Well, the reason
I made that after because
me and
Miles went to Sundance that same year. He
right.
was for Spectacular Now, and I was.
Oh yeah,
we were at Sundance that same year.
The reason is not just OCD to be fixating on the chronology here. It's because there were. I think the progression's really interesting. That some of these early film roles. You did Anthony Hemingway's directorial debut, Red Tails. That was 2012.
I did.
You did Chronicle, which was probably one of the first bigger scale movies. That was 2013, right?
Well, let me tell you about those two. So
yeah.
I think Red Tails for me was the role that gave me the opportunity to stay in Los Angeles. I was getting ready to move back to New Jersey if I didn't get that movie. That was the role that month. It was right before Thanksgiving. And I was nervous that I was gonna have to move back to LA. I didn't have any more money. I gave the last, rent check that I had, and I was like, okay, if it doesn't happen this month, then I guess I gotta go figure it out. And I booked that movie, and that was my first like scale, I don't know how much it was, but it was more money that I've ever had. And I was like, okay, cool, good. This lasts me at least 3 months. I could be good with this. And I went away. We shot that in Prague, and things started rolling after that, And then right after that, I want to say I booked maybe a couple episodics, and then Chronicle came after that. Chronicle was the first role that I actively told my agents I didn't want to go out for roles that were written for African American roles. Like I didn't want that. I wanted roles that was only written for Caucasian males.
Wow.
Like I said, the method behind that, if people can't get it by now, is I wanted roles that didn't have any bias on it. I wanted to play non-stereotypical roles. I wanted to authentically tell a black experience through a character that's not the stereotype. And if I could play a role that's written for a Tom Cruise or Leonardo DiCaprio, if I could play those roles, then of course inherently I'm gonna make it black. But at the same time, it's a role that's just a human. It's just a character.
So
shout out to Foxx and Ronna Kress and Josh Trank.
Josh Trank for Chronicle.
Giving me that first go.
Where did that inspiration to even think in those terms come from? I mean, there have been people who have said similar things over the years. I think maybe Will Smith was one of the first who was saying similar, like, I don't limit me in the roles you come to me with or whatever. But who are you when you're, where'd you have the wherewithal at a point where not that long ago you weren't paying rent? Now you're being pretty specific.
I think it was a moment of, man, I like reverse engineering things. I like seeing a goal or seeing a problem and figuring out how do I fix that? How do I get around that? And I wanted to know deep down inside that I could do it. I wanted to satisfy that curiosity, that question, that doubt that I had that, if I did this, could I make a career out of it? Can I really make change? Can I be, the person who can transcend, can be that Trojan horse in this industry to be able to, get inside the door and leave the door open and, kind of leave it cracked a little bit and be able to tell stories the right way, from a different perspective. And everything's not so calculated. It was just like, you got to roll the dice. Right. It was one of those things where like, hey, I'm going to be bold. I'm going to take a risk. And, and I had a team that supported me. I had a team that understood the vision. They understood the strategy there. And they believed in me too. So, and my family and everybody, they kind of got behind this vision that I had. and they supported me every step of the way through.
Wow. Well, the movie that, so you're getting, each of these things is kind of a first in different ways. Red Tail's first time you can sit back and breathe a little bit.
Just a little bit.
A little bit. Chronicle, first maybe large-scale movie. Then Fruitvale Station, which I think for a lot of people was the first time they sat up and said, wait a minute, we got to pay close attention to this guy as an actor. It premiered at Sundance, went on to Cannes, became this, this sort of darling that just grew momentum as it went along. It's also significant because it was the first time that you collaborated with somebody by the name of Ryan Coogler. And I wonder if you can talk about how you two first connected and why you hit it off so much on that first one, what the significance of it was.
I was coming back we were in South Africa shooting Chronicle, and the Trayvon Martin shooting happened right around that time. I just remember being very frustrated and angry and not really, I remember, typing, a log on Facebook and then deleting it, and like wanting to putting it up and like, man, I don't know how I want to, express myself. How do I kind of let go of this frustration? And it's so crazy how it happened. I remember calling my agents and be like, I want a gritty independent. I want a role, that, that can show I can act, that can show I can lead a film. And, sometimes, when you call out and you pray, God answers, So literally, as I was flying back from South Africa, I got an email from my agent at the time and told me about this young director, Ryan Coogler, who wrote this script.
Who had not directed a feature film before.
No.
Right.
No, not at all. I mean, my thing is like somebody had to take a chance on me, and I never, I looked at myself as the new guy, a lot of times. And I always told myself if I found a director or, a writer-director who, if it was their baby, this is the thing that they're most passionate about, I'm gonna get behind them, like that passion, that drive that's the X factor. That's the extra thing that I would rather do that than do something that I don't really have any skin in the game, something that I'm not as passionate with. So anyway, read the script. I remember bawling my eyes out on the plane, crying. I read it again when I landed back in Los Angeles, and I cried again. And I was like, man, I gotta meet this guy. Like I gotta meet Ryan. And we met at a Starbucks in the Valley. And I don't know, that's just funny. It was right across from the production office. It was there, and I sat down and I met with him, and we had a pretty long conversation. But within the first 15 minutes. I knew I wanted to do the movie. He kind of told me, Mike, I think you're a star. I think you're a movie star, and let's go show the world. Let's go prove it. That's kind of what he told me. And
he's like a year older, maybe.
Maybe like a year or so. No, it was crazy to meet somebody who felt so mature. He felt so wise beyond his years, from similar places. Family background is very similar. Our families are really, really, really close as well. And we grew up on the same music, watched the same television shows, ate the same cereal, watched the same cartoons. It was somebody that I was like, man, okay, we would have been best friends if we went to the same high school. If we went to the same school, we would have been cool. And you're directing this movie? Okay, cool, let's do it.
And I guess the other key ingredient here is that you both felt not only could you have been friends with each other, but you could have been friends with Oscar Grant III, who is this film here that you were going to tell the story of a guy who on New Year's Day 2009 has a confrontation with a cop, unarmed black man in San Fran area, and Oakland area, and that could have been, you felt it could have been you, right?
Yeah, I mean, that gets back to the point of like, of feeling that frustration during that shooting and not knowing how to express myself. And here comes this script that's literally exactly what the vehicle that I need in order to really, as a young black man, express myself through my work. And at the same time, shed a light on this guy who, had his life taken away from him in such a way, and then his character be put on trial. He's not there to defend himself. So to see the media kind of strip him down, and paint him as this guy was something that, I felt, we needed to do we need to do our due diligence on and really get down to what really happened and tell an unbiased, honest depiction of this man's, last 24 hours. And, for me and Ryan, we took it very seriously. I got a chance to meet, his entire family. I spent a lot of time with his mom, with his daughter. I got a chance to, one of the more difficult things about this movie was I had to get to know Oscar through the people that knew him the best. He wasn't somebody I could sit down and talk to. I spent a lot of time, meditating and really just like calling on him, just to kind of like be with me during this movie.
And you wind up on the ground on top of the bullet hole.
Literally, literally the exact spot where he was shot and killed at. We filmed at, and that night was very special. I remember Ryan getting everybody together and huddled up. We did a prayer. We were shooting nights. We had limited time. We were shooting at Bart. It was a lot of elements against us that night, and we got it all done. So it's a moment I'll never forget, and something that I was honored to be a part of. And I don't think I would have been able to embody that character, to embody him, if it wasn't for his presence. So, he had a lot to do with that also.
It's one of the great performances. I just remember the scene with the comforting the dying dog. I think that'll be played every time you ever show up anywhere forever. But right now, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at clips from Red Tails, Chronicle, and Fruitvale Station.